guys are here with D.I.Y, and we are working on a 2020 Chevy Silverado. This is a HD 2500. Does have a bit of a nicer grill on it. More room to actually install that front camera. I don't have that bow tie to deal with. So this is going to be a little bit different, but a cool install. So I'm going to go through the install of the front camera for you, show you how that works, how to get it into the cab, and then we're going to be putting one of our camera modules on. So I'll show you what's involved. Both our modules install the same way, so I'll cover that in the second half of the video. Depending on how this goes, we may cut it and then come back for part two, but I will go ahead and get rolling. So if you have a big truck like this, you may need a step stool, but there are some I call them tree clips in here. Basically all these holes we've already kind of pre-moved. You'll need a dash panel tool. You can get these easily on Amazon. Don't have to get the metal ones, but I will tell you for these type of clips, the metal ones are better. Just search dash panel removal tools or automotive panel removal tools. Will probably get you the metal ones, but you can get these fairly inexpensive on Amazon. Middle portion comes up, and then the bottom portion will just pop right up like that. And then when they go back in, you just simply insert it, push that back down. So set that aside. Got to remove all these guys so we can get access in behind here. And then GM did put some screws, they're T15s, on the hood release. So we'll go ahead and undo that. That's going to allow this to slide off. Now we'll allow this to now pop up and set out of the way. So that now gives us room to work in behind here. Now, do need to watch on your truck. Some of these have louvers that maneuver. So when we got to go around these, which I'm going to do on the install. So I'm basically going to bring it up through the corner right here. I'll come in right through here and over. And then I'll bring it and route it around and up through the cab. So I'll show you that here in just a moment. So these come in super handy. Go to Home Depot or Lowe's. In the electrical section, they sell these in 3-foot. They're 3-foot zip ties. Just cut the end off. Now you've got a nice tool to fish wire through, basically. So we'll get that ready. And then I'm going to prep the lower area where the camera is going to go. Now the camera does come with double stick tape, which in all reality, if this is prepped right, there's no need for screws. I do go ahead and put both on though. So I like to get it marked first. Then sometimes you can take the camera off to get access, just kind of depends. One little small screw comes out. Just want to make sure you get the camera back in the proper position before you put it back together, otherwise it's going to be upside down. But so we'll start by prepping. Towels, Windex, or even better is rubbing alcohol. Go ahead and get your surface as clean as possible. And you're gonna want to get your where you're going with. Don't have to deal with that extra grill. So this is gonna be a super nice one. So know about where you're gonna go. Heat gun is your friend on these guys. So you clean the surface really well and you heat this, both this area and the surface you're going to. It allows that sticky to bond to it really well. And in all honesty, I mean NASCAR uses this stuff. It doesn't come off very easily. It does come with 2 little screws though as well. And then on here, without burning your fingers, you can kind of see the texture start to bubble and change, and that's how you know you're getting warm. Basically that gets it extra sticky, and then typically a razor blade helps. I didn't have one in my hand like I normally do. So now it's a matter of just getting it on there. That's why you want to pre-fit it, so you know about where you want it. Once it's stuck, you don't really want to pull it back off, otherwise you're going to compromise the adhesive. Try and get it right the first time. And then I like to go through with some pressure flat tool. Screwdriver works great. Ultimately, that's on there pretty good. But there is 2 slots, which you can kind of see right here and right here. In the kit, a little baggie. Now, if you want to go through putting this on, you can go through and then cap this on the back side, but it's super hard on these grills, and these grills are not fun to get off. So if you want to go through all that work, you can. I usually just go in with these 2 guys right here. So these 2 are in the kit. This is a 16th, just enough to get a hole started basically. So all I'm doing is a pilot hole. You may be saying, what about car washes? I've had mine on my personal truck since 2016. And been through the car wash hundreds of times, and it's never once even compromised. So if you take your time and just do this right, you don't need to worry about it coming off. Nice and easy. And snug it up. You don't need to wrench it down. And just like that, camera's on. Now, this will have some adjustment. Once we get the interface on, we can move this up and down and then tighten that back screw as we need to. But that'll give you your adjustment. Now we just need to route this through. So this guy will come into play. Notice I'm staying right on the face of the grill here, guys, so I'm not going to interfere with those louvers. Those do move up and down for airflow as you're going down the road, so you don't want your camera in the way. I'm going to come up right in the corner. Got to be slow and patient with it. Alright, now we're in there. Got a couple of places, just kind of get this as snug as possible. Now we're going to find a spot up here to kind of tie it, which this little housing right here. I'm actually going to come around this other way. I'm going to use some of this bracketry to kind of secure it. Handy so you can see what the heck you're doing. So the key here is just to get it tight. I'm probably going to put a small hole there so I can secure this right there. And then up here, you'll notice all kinds of other harnesses. So now it's a matter of, I always like to pay attention to how I route things, because people have to work on these vehicles eventually. And you don't want your harnessing and cables to where brackets and stuff can't come off. They got to cut cables, and that's just going to make life bad. So if I come up this way, it's completely out of everything's way, and I just follow this harnessing that's already here. Secure it, make it look real nice along the way. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. So we're pretty tight right here. Looks nice all through here. It's out of the way. Plenty of room for adjustment. I always have zip ties on hand. This will route over this way. Again, we're just going to follow some harnessing that's already there. truck's already equipped with a bunch of extra equipment, so you're not going to see a lot of this stuff in your truck, but you will have some factory harnessing here that you can access and connect to, just like that. And then if we get this untaped here, this you want accessible. If this camera ever needs to be changed, likely this is the only part you'll have to change. Well, that's actually not true. I'm going to point out another piece in there, but you're going to want this to where it's easy to get to. So we've already pre-ran this. I wasn't going to put you through the pain of watching that, but I will show you. So this needs to go in here. It's got a little key in there. It's got little arrows which are hard to see, but if you twist it, you'll feel it lock into place. And then you got to make sure it clicks and locks in there. And then before this install is done, I'm going to tape this up real well. Also, disregard these. Most of the time these come taped up anyway, but if not and you see them, disregard them. You're not going to use them on this install. Completely disregard. We're going to keep this up right around here in this area, and then this portion is the one that's going into the cab right now. So GM did provide a nice little area right there going through the firewall for wires to go through. So right down there, there's a nice little area for wires to go through. This particular truck has already got wires taking up that space. We tried to go through that, didn't work out. So you go keep it snug on the fender here. You can drop it straight down, and you can see our harness right there coming down. So we'll get in here and make a tie as well. But come in here to the cab. I use the 3/8 bit because you got to get that bigger round DIN cable to go through, and then this is going to need to be sealed up. So you can avoid fighting all that if you want, because it's not fun. I'll show you. Go ahead and get this semi snug. Then this is going to be filled in with silicone, so we don't have to worry about leaking. And then our module, guys, is going to go right down here and tie into the radio, which I'll show you here in a second. But while I got you down here, you can see where those wires are coming through, the wires that are already in the car there, and that's where you got to bring it through. Now, in a lot of the trucks, there's a power inverter that sits right here, the power inverter module that's in the way, so you got to get that out of the way, and then it's still super tight to work with. So FYI, that's the hardest part. If you don't want to fight that, come through here, seal it back up. All your connections are literally going to be made right here. Actually, one more thing to point out. So on these harnesses, this is a voltage reducer that the manufacturer puts on. And they've supposedly made these better, but I have had problems with these. Now, they're covered under warranty, but when these go out, this section of the harness has to be replaced. So keep that in mind. If you have a camera issue at all, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be this. They were supposed to make some enhancements on these. These are fresh shipments from overseas, so hopefully that happened. But this is 9 times out of 10 what has to be replaced. So keep that in mind when running this. If you do have to replace this section of the cable, you'll want it to be as easy as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and get things secured up. I've got to get some things prepped in here. I'll be back in about 20 minutes or so for part 2 to show you putting the module in. Hey guys, you're back with MVI here, and I've got the inside taken apart, and we're going to show you how to put the module in. So real quick, on our camera modules, you're going to be working with, so you need to get this cover off right here, and this accesses the right side fuse panel. And up here to the far right is a big 50 amp fuse. Right next to that is a little tab sticking out that our spade connector will go on. That gives us accessory power. So you're going to plug in there. You're just going to bring it over nice, zip tie it down. We supply this harness. And then right down here, 10 millimeter nut. We supply the grounding eyelet, excuse me. And then these are going to be our leads for the camera. We'll also power the module depending on which module you're ordering from us. So either way, you're going to be dealing with this side area. That's how that's going to go. That's your ground. And then these leads right here are to power and ground the camera. These will come with a little label on them to let you know if we miss that label, that's what these are for. You're simply going to power your camera with that. I don't have the harness handy with me, but I will here shortly, and we'll show you that when we go to make the connection. So with that said, we got to access. So we are putting the IntelliHaul 2.0 in this truck. So that's this module here. If you're going with our other module, that's just a front and a rear, still gonna go over here. Connections are made right over here with a T-harness that we supply. So you access the radio module that sits right here. So you gotta remove the two big Molex plugs from there, and then the LVDS, the blue LVDS plug, so the camera interface will go in line. So with that said, mentioned this several times before on these videos, there are little clips. They got to be pulled down on these connectors. I'll show you when I get it down. So before these connectors will come out, and that's where this right angle also comes in, it'll allow you to go in there, push down the release, okay, to get these connectors out. Again, Amazon is your friend. You can also get these at Home Depot. This is a little clip that I'm telling about. So almost impossible to get with your fingers. That's why the pick's handy to get in there and pull it out. That allows this to push in and out. When that's down, this won't push in. So that's kind of the lock release mechanism. Same with on the blue one. You've got two USB cables, actually called LVDS. All right, same thing. This pushes in and locks. So you got to grip it and pull it down. That allows you to do that guy right there. So with that said, these guys are keyed. They'll only go in one way. They're not the same color, black and gray, but they are keyed. Can't really mess it up. The one with the power and ground going to it, which is the big yellow and black wires, it's basically your black plug. Want to hear the click. I don't know if you heard that on the video, but you always want to hear the click. 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 And push the little lock back in place. These guys are going to hang just like that. Okay. This is your power harness for the module. So you can see, guys, this is basically, if you're going to add just a front camera, that's all there is to it. Not a horrible job. Everything's right here. Once you get used to working in this area. One other thing I'll mention, I've said it many times before, don't turn your key on with stuff unplugged. Do not want to do that with these newer trucks. Way too much sensitive data flowing through these things, so keep the key out of your pocket. No way things can get touched. I want to make sure things are plugged in before you go hitting the key. So this is just going to go back in place to where this one came out. It's the LVDS cable. And it's just simply going to go back up and click into place. Which obviously leaves room for this guy here. All right, and I will click that back into place before I shut it down. And then I like to find places to route harnesses and whatnot. But this, I just recently learned, the last install we did on a SUV, Module actually sits right there, pretty nice. And then I can take it and zip it around those cables and secure it there. Then when your panel goes back on, it's not really going anywhere. It's actually a perfect little spot for it. I like it better here than underneath the carpet, to be honest with you. So this is kind of my new spot to put it, guys. You're getting the IntelliHaul 2.0. It does typically come with a bracket to mount up here. Like I said, this truck is deleted, so we're not using the bracket on this. And I am working a deal with the manufacturer to be able to get these to offer for just the front camera. You don't have to do the full kit. That's coming down the road. Right now it is just a full kit, just FYI. So in the future, that will be a possibility. And it's likely not going to come with that bracket, so you're going to want to put it in this area right here. So that said, all that's left is our actual harness. Okay, so we're going to plug this guy in. I got green lights just came on, so that's a good signal. We're going to tape this up. This is an output. You can choose to use it if you want to power your cameras. I don't like to do that because, just honestly guys, the camera power output on these modules usually isn't all that great, and you usually end up fighting it and running your own power anyway. So I'm just doing that right from the beginning so I don't have to worry about it. But that's just going to plug right in. And then everything is labeled. You won't worry about either of these two wires at all. So this is labeled R for rear, front, can't mess up. Trailer, actually AV1 is right, not rear. This one's labeled trailer, so if you're doing a wireless trailer, and then left camera if you're doing the full 4-camera setup. So that said, let me grab my camera lead and show you this. We do have two different style cameras. One may come with a 4 micro DIN connector like this. The other style is basically kind of like RCA connectors. It's a round RCA power plug that you would plug together, and then RCAs to go, you know, they're not too hard to figure out. I'm gonna go ahead and plug this into front. And obviously before we ship this will all be tied up nice, taped up. This is the power and ground for the camera. And again, your discretion. I don't like to use a bunch of unneeded wire if I don't need to, so I'm going to cut this off. Lowe's, Home Depot. Highly recommend. Make your install much easier. This is called a crimp connector. So black to black, red to red. It's basic 12-volt electronics, guys. So if you're ordering our stuff, we assume you pretty much have this much down. All you're doing is crimping it down. Again, Lowe's, Home Depot. Another source is Harbor Freight, guys, if you got one in your area that's close by. I happen to have a Home Depot literally about 2 blocks from me, so it makes things nice. Crimp it down. Now we're powered up. We've got solid connection. So we can test. So we got our interface pulling up. So let's get the home screen on, and you'll be able to tell we got the full, you know, regular MyLink and TotalLink screen that's going to pull up. And we're going to activate the camera one of 2 ways on the IntelliHaul. So to activate it, you're going to use the home button. So it's the back button, not the home button, guys. Sorry. Parts are starting to free up, so I'm hoping to have more of these here in the coming weeks. So as usual, if you're interested, give us a message. But back button toggles, that'll go back to the home screen. Press and hold 3 seconds. Agree to the confirmation, and now we've got your IntelliHaul icons that you're used to seeing, and we can now pull up front camera, which is not powered up. Alright guys, so I got this fixed up. It was the harness, so I'm going to point some stuff out. I'm glad this happened, so we can go ahead and use this as a diagnostic tool to show you. So if you're putting one of these in, what I did not do and what you should do each and every time before you go through running the harness, go ahead and make the connections. You can do it all right here in the cab. You don't even have to run it out there. Keep it all plugged in. Test your camera before running it. That'll save you the pain that I just went through. That's first and foremost. I didn't follow my instructions that I give, so test it ahead of time. Now, with that said, 9 times out of 10 these are tested on the bench prior to going out, so we do verify them. So I already know that I caused the problem on this not powering up and I caused it trying to go through the firewall. It is so tight, and like I said, there's already big cables coming through. Now if you don't have those big cables, you can get away without doing it the way that I did, but we were trying to pull and force, and what it did is something in here has been pulled out from me doing that. So gotta watch out for that. I should have tested things prior to, but that's what happened. So pulling and pushing on this with too much force is going to cause a problem. Keep that in mind when doing the install. Now, with that said, we fired it up. We saw the camera wasn't working. I moved it over to the other input. It wasn't working there. That leads me to believe that there's a power issue. First thing I'm always going to ask you is, do you have a meter? So it doesn't have to be a nice meter, but you need a meter to test for voltage. So I'm going to turn that to voltage with the line going across. That's DC, not alternating. Squiggly line is for inside the house. This is 12 volt. Okay, we're going to want to watch this. So I'm always going to ask you, first thing, does it have power? So we're just going to go in to my leads. You can see that I got 14.5. The truck's running. That's what we're supposed to have. Now, that doesn't mean there's power down here. So if after you test there, we're still not working, doesn't mean there's not a problem in here with a pin or something like that. So you always want to test in here as well. This one's a little harder because the size of my leads. Let's see if I can do it here. And 14.5 coming through the plug. So now I know I've got juice going all the way through here. The only other thing it can be at that point is this voltage reducer. If you put your hand on it and feel it, it should not be burning hot. This one's good. It is going to get slightly warm. It's voltage going through it, so that's normal. But if it's super hot, this is usually going to be the problem. You're going to want to, we'll have to address it. But again, these are tested before going out. Shouldn't have the problem. Always a good idea to hook it up in the truck, test things first before routing the wire. So with all that said, there's your diagnostics. I'm always going to ask that. It's kind of your 101 diagnostics on camera testing. With that said, I know I've got power now, and we are operational. So we can go back up here, activate it manually, press and hold the back button. Again, this is on this particular IntelliHall 2.0 system. First couple times you do it, you're going to have to agree to that. I've already agreed to it. The truck hasn't been shut off. That's why I didn't pop back on. Now I go front. Now we've got front camera. So to get back out, you go back. Back again takes you back to the home screen. While you're in this menu or this interface, this is your settings right here. So this is enable front camera, speed up trigger, and slow down trigger. So slow down doesn't really work, just to be honest with you. We'll test it. I'll have the customer test it. enable blind spot cameras. Customer's not going to do it on this truck at this time, possibly at a later date. So we're just going to simply uncheck that and then exit back out. You can also shut them off on the dip switches on the module. There's some dip switches right here. The instructions tell you which ones to turn on and off. Before this one leaves today, I'm going to go ahead and shut them off, so by chance he doesn't have to keep messing with that. And then if we decide to add them later, we can. So this thing will also auto trigger. Both my camera modules auto trigger. Both my camera modules you can pull up on demand. They both work separate ways. This one works by this button. My other one will work by the button on the steering wheel. With that in mind, the auto trigger does turn on in a parking situation. So it's got to see reverse first, as if you're pulling into a parking spot. There's your factory camera. Shift it to drive. Front camera turns on automatically. And that will stay on, give or take, up to 8 miles per hour. It's not 100% accurate, so if it shuts off at 7, don't be calling me, guys. It's electronics, it's reading data, and data does funny things. So give or take a couple miles per hour. That will auto turn off once it gets above 8 miles per hour. And then to get back to your home screen, just do that. So if you don't ever want to mess with that button, you just simply do reverse, then drive, camera will pull up and go away. Go ahead and do it. There's camera, factory camera, drive. Now if you go to, well, above 8 miles per hour, which we're not going to be able to do parked, so I'm going to throw it back in, and as you can see, it just goes right back to your home screen. So that's it, guys. Start to finish, even with some hiccups. Front camera install wasn't that bad. I gave you a little bit of diagnostic information as well, so if you have problems along the way, you've got the information. Also, we do provide the tech support to help you out. So any questions, as usual, reach out to us. The best way to reach us is through the website, gm-navigation.com. Send us a message there on the chat messenger, and be happy to follow up with you. Have a great day.